Okay, so I'm going to move on and we'll try to keep reminding people that if you're joining us and you didn't already, please make an account at mtssri.org and the link is in the chat. Okay, so welcome. Let's see if I can get my slides to move correctly. You are here today for RIASP's introduction to Bridge RI, the new home of MTSS in Rhode Island. So just introductions, who are we? Not going to read this blurb to you, but on our website for Bridge RI, which is mtssri.org, each one of our small but mighty team of 4 people has a bio. And I'm Nicole Bucca, and I'm here with you today. I'm an MTSS implementation specialist, and I'm here with my colleague, Ellen Reinhardt. Ellen's waving. And we are the people who do the work that we are sharing with you today. But again, if you'd like a little bit more information about our background, feel free to check out our biographies. But we want to get to the meat of the presentation. So it's been one heck of a year, and I say that with a little bit of jest, but at the same time, nothing but sympathy. I think it's a very challenging year. I can only imagine to be a principal, to be an administrator, and to be a school leader, because that isn't always principals. That there's a variety of leadership roles. And we just want to say thank you for you taking the time. We have pretty good turnout here today for the immense stress you are all under, and we're going to make it worth your while. So what we know is that because of site-based leadership and site-based management, more than ever, you're in charge of your school's professional development during a pandemic, while you're also dealing with all kinds of chaos in probably your personal life too. So we hope that we're going to offer you help, because that's what our job is to do. So let's get started. Bridge RI, the why. So colleagues like myself, Ellen, Michelle Walden-Dopke, Lindsay Scarpacci, we've been working with schools for almost a decade doing MTSS work, supporting building of their MTSS framework. And we've hit some pretty predictable challenges, like every building, every school level, different needs. Every building has different resources and capacity. We would train principals, administrators, and internal coaches, and then they'd leave or change positions. And finally, all those things, including things like superintendents leaving, we would end up having dedicated 5 years in one location, and it would just go poof, gone. So we finally started saying this is not a good use of state and federal funding. It's not working. What do we do? The solution to this series of challenges that we had that came up about 3 or 4 years ago in planning was Bridge RI, the new home of MTSS in Rhode Island. And it's an online learning, professional learning platform, as well as a website. So we were planning for a couple of years to do this soft launch of our online professional learning management system for February of 2020. I'm going to say that again because it's kind of interesting. Just because we couldn't figure out how to make professional learning sustainable, there was a plan to create an online professional learning platform for February of 2020 soft launch. Insert February, and suddenly having a professional learning platform isn't just about sustainability anymore. So I guess what I'm trying to say to you is we didn't do this by design. I cannot give myself or any of my colleagues the credit of knowing that we were going to have this horrible pandemic. But this challenge of the COVID pandemic has created a really amazing opportunity in that we were already creating an online learning, professional learning platform. So what ended up happening was we had all these plans for, oh no, people aren't used to online learning. How are we going to get professionals to engage on this platform when they've never done that before? And suddenly we're like the hottest gig in town. And what I really appreciate as well about the fact that besides this has driven professionals to be more open to online learning for their professional learning, I would also say that it's made people more forgiving. It's made people more less judgmental about what we're trying to do on this platform, because like yourselves and like your teachers, we're new at this. You can't just take a face-to-face training and pop it in an online learning, professional learning platform and think it's going to work. You really have to redesign it. So I want to say the challenge of COVID is presenting an opportunity. Staff that didn't use online learning are now doing it. And people that might have been like, oh, this is dumb and I don't like it, are now like, this is really hard and I respect what you're trying to do. But to be clear, Bridge wasn't intended to be a solution to a COVID pandemic. What it stands for is bridging research, implementation, and data to guide educators in Rhode Island. What it's supposed to do is bridge the research to implementation gap. So it's free professional learning, federally and state funded. It's vetted by the Educator Course Network for the Rhode Island Department of Education. We are a qualified professional learning provider in this state. Every single course has PLU award certificates that align with the amount of time the course should take to complete. And in addition, a lot of the courses that we are creating reflect long term partnerships that we have had with national organizations. So, besides being vetted in that way, we also have all these great collaborations. And most importantly, is that every one of these courses gets feedback from you, Rhode Island educators and administrators, because we want your feedback and we want you guys in these courses and we want to see more videos and implementers and examples from Rhode Island schools. So, why are we telling you about this? You're the experts. You're the experts in professional learning. So, here on the right-hand side, I want you to go to a beautiful place, a beach, perfect, warm sun. Can you put in the chat your utopia? I want professional development resources that do X. Put it in the chat, please. Build teacher capacity. Thanks, Robert. Reach everyone, every role in the building. Thanks, Heather. Give me tools to engage the disengaged student. Support teachers. Thanks, Pam. Help me support teachers. Have follow-up, guidance for implementation. Meet the needs of all learners. Everybody's in a different place. Thanks, Monica, Gina, Dina, Deb. PD that can be easily implemented, that changes the teacher mindset about our kids' ability to learn. Thanks, Matthew. Support teachers to address all learners. Keep it coming. Help manage teachers, students' social emotional well-being. Doesn't feel like one size fits all. That's aligned to the needs of the schools. Excellent. So this online professional learning management platform was built strategically to meet these needs. There's 3 types of professional learning on BridgeRI. The first type here is called self-paced. The self-paced courses, and by the way, when I say course, it's not course like a college course. That's just the speak for the tech platform that we use. So it's kind of like a module, right? The first type of professional learning is self-paced. Self-paced has no facilitator on our end for BridgeRI. Okay, it's entirely asynchronous. It's often 1 to 2 hours in length, and it's usually an overview or an introduction to something that is more facilitated after the fact. It's usually trying to establish common language and prerequisite understanding. The second type of professional learning in our platform is called a facilitated course. This is where there is both asynchronous and synchronous. There is a facilitator and a trainer, and there is some virtual face-to-face. It's a blended professional learning model. While the sections might be short, and you'll see that in a bit, to fit into common planning time, a facilitated course runs longer. It might be an entire PD day or 2, like a traditional face-to-face training, or it might be like common planning time that spans across the entire school year. It's very implementation oriented, whereas the self-paced is more like content, background knowledge. Facilitated is implementation oriented. And finally, the third type is a community of practice. The community of practice type of professional learning is the most informal type. This is where a group is working together to implement common practices, or maybe it's principles using Bridge. It can be a variety of professionals that come together for a common goal, and they use this platform to gather resources, problem solve, and share. So some of the benefits of BridgeRI for principals. There's an obvious one, it's free. It's available at any time. So anybody who does professional development knows sometimes just scheduling it is the biggest nightmare. BridgeRI is available. It can be used at home. It can be used during common planning time in bits of 20, 30 minutes. It can be used at faculty meetings. And finally, the BridgeRI professional learning, a lot of you guys said this in that earlier brainstorm at the beach, it's about common language across all roles. It can be previewed by certain leadership roles in your building, like your school improvement team, and it can be used across a school year in a school improvement plan. It can be led by your own people, your own directors, your own coaches, your own leadership roles. It's available at your own pace, to be done at your own pace. And we have office hours, virtual office hours that you can use to talk with us, get technical assistance, follow up questions and answers, any kind of support you might need. Okay, time for Nicole to stop talking. We need to learn by doing. So we're going to watch right now a quick tutorial that is in, it's a little video that is in every single one of our courses. It's called the course navigation video. We're watching this video because it has some tips and tricks about navigating the platform so that when you get in the platform in a minute, you won't make common mistakes. Okay, Ellen, let me know if my audio is good.
Welcome to this quick tour of how to navigate a course in Bridge RI. It's always helpful to become familiar with a course before you start, especially if you're new to online learning. Each course is split into multiple chunks or sections. You will complete each section in the order presented, and in most courses, you will not be able to proceed until you finish the current section. This will be denoted by a restriction. Within each section are multiple activities and resources, each represented by a different icon. Books and pages, which contain readings and/or video. Quizzes. Assignments. Modules. Discussion forums. And lessons, to name a few. Clicking on the title or icon of each will take you to that activity. When you are finished with an activity, there are a few different ways to navigate back to the course homepage. Most will have a link at the bottom to return to the homepage. You can also follow the breadcrumb trail at the top. Please note that the home link on the breadcrumb trail will take you back to the Bridge RI homepage, so be sure you don't go back too far. There are a few tools to help you keep track of which activities you have and have not done in the course. All courses have completion checkboxes off to the right of each activity. Boxes with a dashed line will automatically check off once you've successfully completed the activity. Boxes with a solid line allow you to manually check off when you've completed. Empty boxes signal that you haven't yet completed the activity, even if you've started. Another way to keep track is the completion progress block. It shows the percent of the course you have completed, and a green checkbox will appear when you finish an activity. Hovering over the blue boxes will tell you which activity still needs completing. If you have questions about navigating the course, you can reach out in two ways, depending on your question. For questions about content, clarification on an assignment, navigation, or broken links, contact the individuals listed in the course support block in the upper right corner of the course homepage. For any other technical difficulties, you can submit a help desk ticket in the block directly below it by clicking on the help desk icon on Need Help. This block appears on all pages of the site. If you are taking this course for professional learning units, you'll find the required course evaluation and certificate in the last section of the course. Completing all activities within the course will unlock the course evaluation. Completing the evaluation will then unlock the course completion certificate. Please print and/or download and save the certificate with the date of completion in the title. You will have to present this certificate to earn professional learning units. We hope you enjoy this course, brought to you by Bridge RI.
Now we're going to learn by doing. So you're going to start, we will have the link in the chat for you to go to the first course we recommend all users go to first, which is the MTSS overview. And the reason we recommend this course is to establish common language. People use the term MTSS or RTI, and we often mean different things by what we're saying. So just yesterday, we had an entire district have 166 people in this course because starting with common language is very important. 8 minutes to check out a course, and then we're going to come back and do a little debriefing. Questions?
Here, we can see the multi-tiered systems of supports, the overview. In the beginning of every course, there'll be the Intro to Bridge RI. We often add a video element to add a little bit of personal touch to our courses, even though they're self-paced. Every course has the basic information of what our objectives are, the number of PLUs, which is roughly how long it'll take to complete the course, and those that develop the course are listed. Here we follow the breadcrumb to return to where we were in the course previously. We also often implement executive functioning supports, such as a note-taking template. Here you can see that we're encouraging active professional development in using the notes as you take the course, and these notes can be referred back to later at a date and time or used during common planning time to discuss what you saw in the course and engage further with your collaborative partners. And this particular course also has ideas for application. We had said previously, and it's still true, that our self-paced courses are usually more informational and exploratory. They're often an overview before a facilitated set of courses or courses where we're going to be more implementation oriented. But we do try to always give some elements of application when possible. So here you can see many of our courses start with a pre-test and a post at the end. Here we have a self-assessment. Every section is sort of a theme or an objective. What is MTSS in Rhode Island? Each section starts with a short audio explaining the objectives of this portion and what types of activities will exist and how long roughly that section should take. You can see accessibility features. One of the reasons we use the Moodle platform is because it has such great accessibility features, and we are committed to universal design so that anyone can access. Here is an example of how we strive to have more interactive nature. We're going to go through, hey, you saw in a video previously about MTSS, remember her? She knows that she wants MTSS, but what is that exactly? Here are some misconceptions out in the field, and now we're going to go into a video showing how those misconceptions are or are not true. Our videos strive to be no more than 1 to 3 minutes whenever possible because we understand that people don't have time. Checks for understanding. We'll demonstrate whether we understood what we read and move us back to the same part of the course. You can see there's engagement. Each course was carefully designed by us, people who have been in the field and working with schools for a long time. So you can see here is our school feedback on the most common misconceptions about what is MTSS. Oh, people think it's only interventions. They think it's only student by student problem solving, like we RTI'd a kid, right? That's the most common misconception cited. 64 people responded that that is true in their world, and that's 79% of respondents that said that's the most common misconception in Rhode Island. So you can see that our courses they have engagement elements. Following that common misconception is a forum where now we're sharing our thoughts about why those misconceptions exist. And what's wonderful on the end of us as the TA providers is we're learning as we're engaging with people on these forums, we're learning more about the reality of this work out in the field. So we complete all the way through. We go through MTSS, what is it, the components. We go into creating a problem-solving culture, into leadership for MTSS, where we've got some voices from the field, and then finally the wrap-up. And you have to have completed all of these activities before it unlocks the course evaluation, which again, it's critically important to us that we get your feedback, and we want to see how we can improve our courses. You can see here that quite a lot, 75% of respondents, 41, said that this course increased their understanding quite a lot. The other 25% said somewhat. And then here is some of the most influential feedback that we will use in making the 2.0 of certain courses, right? Is this more anecdotal feedback of what features really advance learning and which features maybe people thought were not as user-friendly as possible. So we intend to use this data to continually improve. We intend to partner with schools, districts, and leaders to create more courses, and I know we'll just continue to get better.
So what you just witnessed a second ago was the multi-tiered systems of support overview course. Again, that course is self-paced. It has no facilitator, it's asynchronous, but you can provide a synchronous element in your building. It just means we don't provide a synchronous piece. It's 1 to 2 hours in length, and it's an introductory webinar. It's an introductory course, excuse me. So we also have another type, which is facilitated. I'm going to show you really quickly here a light example of walking through a bit of a facilitated course.
This is teaching informational writing with self-regulated strategy development. So you can see, so first of all, this course has an overview, okay? So similar to the MTSS overview, there is a shorter, more informational and exploratory course that sort of summarizes all things SRSD so that you can consider whether doing the deeper, more implementation-oriented work is what you want. This is a facilitated course, and what that means is it is implementation oriented. It is facilitated by a trainer who does this work for a living with us supporting, or sometimes led by us if we have that expertise. And you can see here we've again got a video element for some more personal touches. We always teach how to use the platform. If you already know how to use the platform, you just skip that portion. And it follows, and we do this intentionally, all of our courses follow a similar shell pattern so that people who use Bridge get increasingly comfortable with the platform. So you can see the course information and you can see how it relates to the MTSS framework and introducing yourself. Those are all very common to our course shells. So the difference with the facilitated course is that there's going to be asynchronous work that folks are expected to do on their own between or before sessions. And then there's going to be synchronous, which is more like that traditional face-to-face teaching that we sort of are used to at trainings. So you can see here that in session 1 for SRSD, they were working on climate, the pre-assessment, and routine 1. Here you can see this is the facilitated session recording that already occurred. So their synchronous time already happened, and it's in here for the benefit of those who participated to view it later. And here are the asynchronous parts, right? There's a follow-up. They had to develop a lesson, right? So here they're explaining their lesson to their fellow training colleagues. And note that these folks are responding right now in writing, but they actually can do auditory and they can do video as well. It's just people are still a little shy on this platform. And so you can see that they're going into an intro to routine 2, where they're having sort of a recap of what they learned as the routine. Here are the video exemplars to sort of assist with recalling what was learned and what the routines look like. And then the next activity is, okay, let's talk about how we're going to implement it in class. Let's share across districts, people who are implementing. Let's talk about what we're doing. And so facilitated courses are quite a blended hybrid of the two formats. And while people are doing this piece during a PD day, technical assistance provider Ellen Reinhardt is available in a chat to have to provide technical support. So if you enter the chat in the Moodle course, the Bridge RI course, I can send a message and then Ellen will respond back to me. And so these are just some of the things in a facilitated course that can be done. There is a lot more. And so you can see as you go on, the next PD day they get together again. There is a synchronous portion where it's more like a traditional face-to-face training. There's follow-up steps. They come back together, they share things, and in the end, this course will end up being a full capturing or portfolio of all the work that they have done this year, including all the instructional materials and supports. And by the way, SRSD, the training, actually teaches also how to do SRSD when you're in a blended model because they're literally doing it for their professional development. Okay, so that's a facilitated course.
And we also have a community of practice model. It looks very similar to the facilitated model, except when you come together, the people who are coming together are people who are trying to grassroots implement something, and they're trying to create resources together.
One of our communities of practice that we're going to be piloting is the Anti-Racist Challenge. And the Anti-Racist Challenge is twofold. It's a community of practice in part for us, Bridge RI employees and individuals, we're a team of 4, to acknowledge that we are not the equity experts and that we are making a commitment to trying to do more with equity given the current context of our country. And that we know we need to make sure that our MTSS framework and training materials are very equity informed and anti-racist in nature. And so We're working together with the anti-racist table, two moms who had a passion for this, and they're both an educator and a lawyer, and the moms of boys that they want to make sure the world is different for their children. And so in this community of practice, we're actually going to engage in the anti-racist table's resources, right? So we're going to leave Bridge to go look at their resources and to do their activities. And then we're going to come back into Bridge for the community of practice where we debrief and discuss and we add more resources. And what I predict is that every cycle of this running, it's going to become better and better, where we're going to have not only the anti-racist table resources, but what educators in Rhode Island put together and create. And it's only going to get better and better. And it will be available for all principals and educators to use across their building, so that if your SurveyWorks data ever says that different races, different ethnicities experience your school differently and that it's something you want to improve, this will be available for your professional development use.
So, what Bridge RI offers that's best to me and for our leaders is options. So, when you think about student and educator well being, some of you said you needed things. Here's some of the courses we already have. In academics, courses we already have. For MTSS, data use and evidence-based practices, courses we already have and or are building currently, piloting. And here are some of the ones that are coming soon. We already have 17 courses, many in development, and there'll be a lot more. And we're hoping people like you are going to help us build new courses that are specific to Rhode Island. So what we would like to do right now is put you in breakouts. You're going to be separated at random in groups of 3. And what we would like you to do is take about 5 minutes. So that's just a minute or so each, maybe a little bit more, to answer these questions. If you have used Bridge, this first question, if you've used the platform, how are you using it? And if you have not yet used the platform, how would you like to? So, one of those 2 questions after you introduce yourself. Again, if you've used Bridge, how are you using it? If you haven't, how would you like to in your groups of 3? Well, welcome back. I could see that we probably could have used a few more minutes. I hope that you had some good conversation. Next time, I think we really could use maybe a longer webinar than an hour. That'd be my lesson learned. But I can only speak to my group. We talked a bit about how they see a lot of potential in the platform, um, really just trying to get people on the same page and common language. And, one of the things I wanted to say to you all, because I said common language before, is that every single course in this platform um, uses the same language about the MTSS framework throughout it. So if you start with the overview, whether you go to a course on behavior or social emotional learning or academics, we're going to all align to the same framework, which is a school improvement framework. So, and also, I think Steve was in our group and he was sharing about how he had certain roles in his building, like the school counselors, the school guidance counselors, that he wanted to do certain bodies of work, and that this would, what would be nice about using the platform would be it would give him tools and it would have some element of consistency around it. And I'm sorry that we don't have a chance to debrief more. Ellen, did you join a group?
I joined a group just briefly to see if there were any issues. There was one question that came up in the chat. Why do some courses have enrollment keys? And I did type a response. There are some courses for which there's a prerequisite, or it's intended for a specific population, a specific group of educators. And so in those cases, there would be an enrollment key. But that's not the norm. Most of the courses are open to all.
If you want to keep up to date, and we want you to, on all new Bridge offerings, you'll see in the chat that we have not only a mailing list that you can sign up for, that we only email approximately once a month, new course offerings, but we're also on Facebook and Twitter. I would choose whichever ones are easiest for you. So if you always use Twitter, get on there and follow us. If you're not on Twitter, don't use that one. But keep up to date with our new offerings. We're really trying to do a lot with communication. And I'd like to go in to the how or the do. Our goal with this platform, and I think that you are exactly the kind of leaders we're looking for, is we wanted to make a platform that is flexible enough so that leaders can use it in whatever way works for their building. Every building has different strengths. And so we want a platform that you can utilize in different ways. So here's a quick user story. This is an example of a school and how they're choosing to use our platform. We're having our district vision of a graduate, and our vision involves kids that have strong literacy skills. Unfortunately, our RICAST data shows that our literacy skills are not where we want them to be by about second to third grade, especially in the area of writing, and that students with disabilities are a subset within that are even more of concern. So here we have a principal. You can see this young lady here. She goes back to her school improvement team and she knows we have to look at literacy in our building starting at second grade, and we have to do something different, or that vision of a graduate will never be a reality. And she says, unfortunately, I don't know what to do. We have no extra money and we have no extra resources. I do remember in MTSS training that there are vetting clearinghouses where I can find evidence based solutions. So we go to What Works Clearinghouse and look at what we have. Self regulated strategy development is an evidence based approach to moving writing achievement. In addition, you can see here in the red, it moves students with disabilities outcomes as well. It's an achievement gap closing tier 1 approach. So they join MTSS Bridge Our Eyes virtual office hours, and the principal says, I'm looking with my school improvement team to implement something that's going to move literacy. We think self-regulated strategy development. And our team says, great, we have online professional learning on that. Let's talk about helping you make a plan. SRSD worked, and in the virtual office hours, the school improvement team said, okay, we have 4 PD days a year and common planning time. We have a speech provider and a reading specialist who will be coaches and facilitators of the work. We're going to do the MTSS overview first to establish common understanding of what we mean by MTSS. Then we're going to do the course SRSD overview and then move into the SRSD facilitated course. They basically planned their entire school improvement for the whole school year using this platform, and every SIT meeting, school improvement team meeting, they check in on where are we with regards to our plan and how is it going. As we do our last step here to wrap up, we want to take about 10 minutes to do question and answers openly, but also in the chat, we have a simple 2-question survey that we really hope to get principals' feedback on. It simply asks, what courses do you wish we had? What is important to you right now that you wish we had maybe in the next year? While we do Q&A, if you could complete that survey, we'd really appreciate it, because we know once you leave this meeting, you won't have time to do it again. Okay, so why don't we open up for questions? And I'm okay with you unmuting, because as long as you're okay with it, but keep in mind we are recording.
I'm just going to jump in and offer that if we do need to schedule a follow-up session, that we'd be happy to schedule that or organize as needed, Nicole and Ellen.
Yeah, and thanks, Nicole. And just for the benefit of the principals that are on the line here, originally, Nicole, myself, and Ellen, we had a plan to bring courses to RIASP when they're completed, and to actually have workshops where you guys actually do the course with fellow principals to talk about how to implement it in your building. But COVID kind of blew that up. But I will say this, we can still do that online just like this. Instead of having a 1-hour webinar, we could choose to do a course together, break apart, do the piece, come back together, have a small talk. Do you know what I'm saying? So just so you know, if there was interest in that, Nicole, would they reach out to you or me? I'm open.
They can respond, and I will include you in the responses to that, so we can make that a collaborative approach.
Okay, great.
Nicole, I think that would be awesome, because I feel like too sometimes, like as a leadership team, we need to just make some time to go through this before we roll it out to teachers, so that the leadership team also has that common language, like I said, before we even push it out. And I wanted to ask too that I know that I think, what was it? I forgot who responded back to me in the chat, but I know that they said 2 courses were the importance of connectedness and using a connection survey are geared toward secondary. I'm also assuming that the data the data stuff for MTSS, that would be K to 12, right?
Yes.
So yes, and I think one of the things that we learned in our face-to-face trainings is um, we always need to be showing what it looks like in elementary and secondary. So as we develop, so in our course catalog, which is on our website, if you go to online learning and there's actually a course catalog, it'll tell you the audience. So if the audience is restricted to one versus the other, it'll tell you that. But we know we need to make offerings for both, and as we continue to build, you'll see more and more of that. And we have a lot of years of building for secondary too. So you won't, I don't think you'll be lacking at either level.
Okay.
Right, and Dina, as Nicole was saying, any of the MTSS systems pieces really tend to be leadership in K-12. And for example, there's a tier 2 overview course that within it, there's a, hey, look at this high school example, look at this elementary example, so
Okay.
that it can, reach all folks. The other thing that I put in afterwards, but sometimes it gets lost, is currently the self-regulated strategy development, the overview, and the facilitated course are currently geared up through grade 8, but that's an evidence-based practice for all students. And so we've had some interest in doing a facilitated course for high school students. It would be great if that's something people are interested in to see that in the survey, to give us reason to prioritize developing it. Currently, it looks like potentially summer 2021.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, Deb. Good.
Deb, we are working on, we're calling them user stories. As you can imagine, because we only opened the platform soft in March, we're really beginning user stories, but they are rapidly evolving, and so we do hope to put out user stories, and that will be examples of how districts are using them. Another example of how districts are using them is, so we have a intensive intervention course that districts are using with their intensive team. So the one that meets on individual students, it's not a school improvement team, it's about individual students. And so they're doing it in CPT, common planning time. They're doing a small chunk, and then they have an asynchronous time, and they're doing it throughout the whole school year. And they have a district coach who's joining us, who will use the course to facilitate building it across the district once we're done. And I know I didn't say it earlier, but I should have. The other great thing about Bridge as a platform, besides the fact that we're going to keep growing and keep evolving from your feedback, and hopefully you guys engaging and being a part of it, is that when you get new, when people transition from one building to another or one position to another, the courses that they needed to take to catch up, and now you have an onboarding system. Do you know what I'm saying? It's free. It's always there. That's another user story that I had a superintendent say, oh, so like all my new staff could take, say, classroom management, connections, and de-escalation for some like foundational classroom management skills. And we were like, yeah, of course they could. Absolutely.
I will add one thing that came up in our group real quickly was that if you're feeling like right now you don't want to introduce something new, or you're like, when's the timing? How do I bring this forward? We talked about the self-care Tuesdays being a great way to bring the platform to the teachers for the first time, just as an opportunity to get familiar with how to use it in that way, because it would be helpful for them to engage in the Tuesdays. I want to sign up myself, so it looks like a great course.
And so that's tonight at 7 p.m. Take Care Tuesdays. I will be there with Kim Oakes from West Warwick, who is an amazing trauma-informed educator and professional development provider. So anyone who wants to come, I walk out of that hour feeling like I've had, just an hour of either massage or therapy. It's delightful. I feel guilty recording it as work. So.
So, and I know that other ideas, like from the user story idea, and please, Ellen, if you have other districts too, some of the things that we have people doing to prevent burnout and burdening their staff is just having your admin or leadership team or school improvement team just take a course like the overview and just do it in a very leisurely pace, to sort of consider future use. Do you know what I'm saying? To sort of and I will, as an example, just really quickly, I wanted to say that we purposely made the sections in these courses to fit very easily in just a meeting. So for example, let's say you have a school leadership team, okay? And you say, "Hey guys, next year when we're not in this pandemic, I would really like to start trying to build our school improvement using this platform," right? And you could say, "Okay, so at our next meeting, which is only an hour online, we're going to either do it at the meeting or we're going to do it before. We're just going to do these activities to discuss only this section." And just to be clear, in each activity, like, so this little blurb right here, it'll tell you how long this takes. It's probably 20 minutes. Like, these, even though it looks like a lot of activities, the self-paced courses are meant to be pretty quick, and each section could easily be done in a common planning time or a meeting. So in other words, if you can figure out a way to not make it something so much it's in a meeting that's already happening, there's a reason for it, right, that you might want to use it in the future, then it does feel more manageable. And we have one district that's doing that right now with their admin team. And they said, "And if we like what we see, we'll go to our department chairs only and do the same thing with them. And we're just going to do like a little bit of an incremental, right? And every time it's going to be, what do you think? You think our staff would benefit from this?" And it's sort of like building um, readiness.
I also have just dropped in the chat. We have monthly office hours when the folks who work at MTSSRI are live, available on a Zoom call. And the link is there. It's all scheduled out throughout the year. This would be a great place to drop in if after this webinar you're having a lingering question, or you're mentioning it to someone else and they have some questions about what's available. These are times when we're available. We're also trying to reach out to districts that we see really utilize the site, particularly on the state PD days. We see a big upticks of activity, and offer to do a specific office hours just for that school or district.
We want to build the capacity of Rhode Islanders by Rhode Islanders. So I know we have some amazing leaders on this webinar right here that have really great skill sets. And we partner with folks to build courses on here that your district can use because you built it, but also other Rhode Islanders can use. So as we move forward, if you have a topic that is both situated in research, and we can see that, and you have data of implementation in Rhode Island showing effectiveness, don't be shy. Come around to us. We have created a budget. We have all kinds of tools to support our new leaders, and we want to have a very robust offering. The majority of people who use Bridge, and we ask them, "How did you learn about Bridge?" It's majority learned it from their principal. So you are our primary audience. We aim to make you happy. You have ideas. Nicole's a great partner in building capacity and supporting. We are totally open. We could have a community of practice that's all principals using this for school improvement. We could do online short workshops where we actually go do a course and talk about how we'd use it. We are so game for whatever works for you. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I'm not talking about you necessarily doing this with staff right now. I'm talking about you doing it with you right now. And maybe one or two people you trust who support you in your leadership role. And maybe right now it's just exploratory. What is this? How could we use it? And that kind of a thing. And I think that folks like myself and Ellen, we would benefit from just hearing your thoughts, because isn't that how good things are built?
So Nicole, you could also help us to think about how we would want to build out a system, right?
Yeah.
Based on our needs. And so Nicole, you could also help us to think about how we would want to build out a system, right?
Yeah.
Based on our needs. And
so, and also office hours. So Dina, a couple things is, we could have a community of practice for more like deeper mentoring, like some principals that really want to be innovative about using this, or district leaders, anybody who wants to be innovative. So that could be more of like a long-term relationship in a private, platform. Or you can always join virtual office hours. So in the user story I shared, they knew their problem, but they didn't know a solution. So they came to the virtual office hours and they said, "Look, this is what we're trying to move. you know, what would you think? And then we basically say, well, here's the resources we have that align to what you're thinking about. And then they're creating their annual school improvement plan based around the who and the when, right? This person's going to support it. It's going to happen during common planning time. We're going to map that out, and that's going to be the whole year. And that's what we're kind of hoping for. We're trying to take away the what we used to do this face to face, 4 people in the state. Took us 5+ years to move a school with a great principal, with a great coach, and then they leave. So the hope would be that now we're going to have a platform that'll just keep building itself. It'll just keep improving. And even if they lose me or they lose you or we go somewhere else, we still know the platform. We know what's in it. And it's just getting better and better. So that's all. Well, it is 4:32. I thank everybody for your time. You know our name. I will send out the slides so you'll have the videos if you want to see them, and let Nicole and myself and my colleague Ellen here know if you want to do something more with us.
So,
Thanks.
and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nicole and Ellen, for being here, for your time and your expertise. And thank you for everyone for participating. Bob, did you want to say a word or two while you have the audience to thank everyone for their participation?
No, thank you, Nicole, and for presenting this resource. I can see how that, you know, when teachers say, how did I learn? How did you learn about this? Oh, I learned about this from my principal. And that's our job as instructional leaders. I thank all the principals that took time out of your day on this dark December day to grow yourself, and keep it up. This is very promising. I'm really impressed, and I can see how principals are going to use this with their staff.
Thank you, Bob. Have a wonderful evening, everybody, and a great rest of your week.